Pre-Socratic Greek philosophers argued that existence is timeless and change is simply impossible. Reality is a single, unchanging, and indivisible whole. All of existence is eternal and immutable. Any perception of change is an illusion, and the true being must be constant and permanent. Their works emphasize the more abstract reality where the fundamental nature of existence is static and beyond the realm of sensory experience. These ideas laid the groundwork for future metaphysics and influenced later philosophers, including Plato and Aristotle, in their exploration of the nature of reality and time. There are mathematical structures or sets of mathematical rules and relationships that correspond remarkably well to physical reality. These structures are timeless, based on abstract and logical principles that apply universally and are not bound by temporal constraints. One theory that incorporates such structures provides a framework for describing physical reality where all events in existence are fixed in spacetime. This theory, this worldview, questions our everyday experience of time as flowing from the past to the future, and aligns with the mathematical formalism used in modern physics to describe the fundamental nature of reality. What is this theory? How is it timeless? And in what way does it include consciousness? Einstein's relativity combines the three dimensions of space with one dimension of time into a single four-dimensional fabric, the spacetime. A fundamental aspect of Einstein's theory is that simultaneity, a concept that two events happen at the same time from a specific viewpoint, is relative. This means that different observers, depending on their relative motion, can disagree on whether two events occurred at the same time. Imagine two supernova explosions happening at the same time. An observer in a stationary position in space would see the explosions happening simultaneously. Another observer, who is moving towards one supernova and away from the other, would see one explosion before the other. So simultaneity is relative to the observer's motion, which implies that all moments in time are equally real. The integration of time as a fourth dimension in spacetime provides the theoretical foundation for the block universe theory, also known as eternalism, an interpretation of relativity in which past, present, and future events all exist together in a single, unchanging block of spacetime. All events at all times exist simultaneously as equally real and are all part of a four-dimensional space-time block. Time is not a flowing dynamic process, but rather a dimension akin to space. The whole universe is a four-dimensional space-time, existing as a single entity, three spatial and one temporal dimension, contrasting with the perspective of the world as a three-dimensional space influenced by the flow of time. Different moments are as real as different locations. The continuum of spacetime contains all events that are located at specific points in both space and time. There is no absolute now that moves forward uniformly for all observers. This cosmic chunk contains every event that ever happens. The position of these events within the block indicates their location in spacetime. Every moment of life is somewhere out there within this block. The past, present, and future all coexist and are embedded within the block. Every moment in time is equally real, which means that our past and future selves are also real in some sense. The flow of time is just an illusion. In this framework, the entire history of the universe is laid out from the beginning to the end with no objective now. Events don't come into or go out of existence. They simply exist. It often feels as if today is the present moment, yesterday is the past, and tomorrow is the future. But time doesn't pass in the block universe model. The events within the block are constant and unchanging. Future events exist just as other places do, and there's no objective passage of time. One end of the block is the Big Bang, and the other the very last moment of the universe. Any geometric description of time ultimately leads to the brain to perceive it as space, viewing past and future moments in relation to the present, being as real as positions to the left and right of the current position. There's no single unified perspective on time in science. The theory of relativity explicitly describes a block universe, and the core of relativity is the fact that one's past will be someone else's future. If we were to travel back in time, we would be moving into someone else's future. As time travelers, we don't necessarily materialize at some past time. Instead, we've always been at that point in the past. The past will be just as unchanged in nature as the present. It would be interesting to know how a block universe would look like from outside. If we could have a godlike view of the block universe, would we see all the moments of our lives happening simultaneously? The answer is that the term happening doesn't apply here. Moments don't happen. They're simply points along the time axis in the block universe model. Happening implies the passage of time. We would see these moments as a static set of events arranged along the time direction. If a godlike supreme entity stands outside of the block universe, it would stand outside of time. Time could exist only within the block universe. The entity would perceive something like a block universe, while time might appear differently to the finite beings contained within it. One contrasting view to the block universe or eternalism is Presentism, the philosophical proposition that only entities currently in existence are real. Past events have occurred and future events are expected to happen. Neither of those set of events exist now, which means they don't exist at all. Past and future are just concepts to describe the real, isolated, and ever-changing present. Everything in the past, future, or anything imagined is unreal. Only the present moment of physical reality is truly real. The past is usually viewed as permanently unchangeable, and the future as at least partially undefined. The present doesn't move forward through a timeline from a real past to a real future. Instead, it simply changes. The past and future don't exist. They're just concepts used to describe the real, isolated, and changing present. One's current moment in presentism is fundamentally and objectively distinct from both the past and the future, as the past no longer exists and the future hasn't yet come into existence. Presentism could be difficult to reconcile with the theory of relativity. While presentism insists on the exclusivity of the present moment, relativity introduces four-dimensional spacetime, where past, present, and future are real and interconnected. Presentism relies on a clear and universal distinction between past, present, and future. But relativity suggests that such a distinction is observer-dependent, which conflicts with the idea of a singular and universally real present moment. In relativity, time can pass at different rates for observers moving relative to each other, an effect that becomes significant at speeds close to the speed of light. The twin paradox is a good example of this. One twin travels on a high-speed journey into space, while the other remains on Earth. Upon returning, the traveling twin is younger than the twin who stayed on Earth. This paradox illustrates the real-world implications of time dilation. The key distinction between eternalism and presentism can be understood in the context of time travel. In eternalism, time travel is theoretically possible because one's past and future selves are considered to be physically real. In contrast, presentism renders time travel impossible by definition, as it's not possible to travel to moments that don't exist. For human intuition, the present holds a unique significance. Our past appears to no longer exist, and our future has yet to unfold. This interpretation may be influenced more by the way our brains have evolved to perceive time similarly to space, rather than by the actual nature of time. However, many interpretations of relativity argue that the present is not unique. The past and future are just as real as the present, coexisting in such a way that theoretical time travel to any of them is possible. A time traveler's actions don't alter anything in the block universe. Instead, whatever the traveler does at any given time contributes to the events of that time and subsequent times, shaping them as they are. An alternate theory to both eternalism and presentism called growing block universe is much closer to human intuition. In this theory, both the past and present exist, while the future hasn't yet. As time passes, more of the world comes into being, hence the growing block universe. This growth occurs in the present, a thin slice of space-time, where new segments of space-time are continually added. The theory acknowledges the reality of both the past and the present, while asserting that the future doesn't yet exist. When the present becomes past, new slices of existence are added to the overall history of the world. The past as just as real as the present. The total amount of existence continuously grows. This view of time matches the common sense belief that the past is fixed, the future doesn't exist yet, and the present is always changing. A key argument supporting the growing block theory is the nature of causal relationships. In our world, events are causally interconnected, an inherently asymmetrical relationship. Effects rely on their causes, but causes don't rely on their effects. Since causes precede their effects, our universe must be a growing block. So in summary, the existence of the past, present, and future entities is the ontological thesis of the block universe. No futurism, the view that only past and present entities exist, is the ontological thesis of the growing block universe. Conscious beings experience time subjectively, perceiving it as flowing from past to present to future. This subjective experience of time is not easily reconciled within the block universe's static view, when past, present, and future all exist simultaneously. Consciousness in a block universe, just like anything else, is a product of the physical world and can't have an independent existence. It's bound to the block-like structure of time and cannot exist in a different reality or dimension. Our perception of the passage of time is a result of our consciousness moving through the four-dimensional block. In a block universe, our experience of the present moment wouldn't be a singular point, but a stretch along the time axis. This duration of awareness could be seen as our personal window into the block universe, where we perceive a sequence of events as continuous and flowing. This could be how we perceive motion, change, and the continuity of events. In the block universe, These perceptions are not due to events happening one after another in a traditional sense, but because our consciousness moves along our world line in space-time, integrating sensory information over a span of time. Our current experiences are influenced by past events that still exist within the block. This temporal extension of consciousness allows us to recall past events and anticipate future ones, making sense of our experiences as a part of a larger, unchanging structure. While events in the block universe are static and unchanging, our experience of them, due to our temporal consciousness, is dynamic. This dynamic experience gives us the illusion of time flowing, even though from the block universe perspective, all events are fixed. The concept of an extended conscious experience provides a way to reconcile the static nature of the block universe with the subjective experience of time passing. Consciousness and perception of time could be emergent properties of brains interacting within the block universe. While time may be static at the fundamental level, the emergent properties of consciousness create the illusion of a dynamic experience of time. Although our brains are situated in both the past and the future as much as they are in the present, we only experience consciousness in the present moment, and the notion of time is just an illusion constructed by our memories. Our consciousness exists only for a brief moment, with neither a future nor a past. The sense of a continuous flow of time is sustained by our mind's ability to store information about past events and thoughts. We exist only in this very instant, and this instant has always existed and will always exist. It would be easier to align conscious experience with time if we think of time as a dimension in 4D spacetime where one exists at the specific point at any given moment. A moment later, we exist at a different point, and a moment after that, and a moment after. Connecting all these points would form a trajectory, a world line. We experience ourselves moving through time because we are literally moving through space-time. We could be something like a field of consciousness, like a 3D screen that moves from the past to the future within a 4D block universe. This consciousness field observes the thoughts occurring in the brain, which are essentially a reflection of external reality. As this field moves through the temporal dimensions, it continuously monitors and interprets the brain's mental processes, which mimic or reproduce the actual state of the world outside. Consciousness in this view is not a dynamic entity that evolves over time. Rather, it's a static entity embedded within the block universe, experienced by conscious beings as they navigate through various points in time. A good analogy for the relationship between conscious experience, the block universe, and time is a movie stored on a disc. Imagine a movie where the characters feel like real people with genuine thoughts and experiences. If you play a particular scene, it's like witnessing the character's self-awareness at a specific moment. Fast-forwarding to another scene shows their awareness at a different moment. However, the entire movie exists on the disc simultaneously, encompassing all moments without any logical contradiction. The nature of consciousness in the block model correlates with the idea that our brains, as part of the universe, are located in all of its relative temporal positions simultaneously. This means that the neural configurations and states of our brain are present throughout the timeline of its existence, not just limited to the present moment. Despite this, our subjective experience of consciousness is constrained to the present. Although the block universe implies that all temporal states exist simultaneously, our perception and cognitive functions are specifically geared towards processing and experiencing events as they unfold in real time. This could be due to the constraints of our neural architecture and sensory mechanisms, which are built to operate within the context of the present moment. The subjective feeling of a continuous flow of time is a result of how our consciousness integrates experiences. Consciousness and the flow of time don't operate within the past and can only be active at the boundary of the block universe where the present exists. Some philosophers also suggest that conscious experience extends over time, meaning our conscious awareness isn't limited to a single and fleeting instant, but rather spans the duration of time. This suggests that our experience of the present moment has a small but significant period that rather being restricted to an infinitesimally short point in time. This relates to the idea of specious present, referring to the short duration in which one's perceptions are in the present, rather than experiencing time as a series of discrete, instantaneous moments. We perceive a small interval that allows for the integration of sensory information and continuity in our perception of reality. This means that our perception isn't just a snapshot but a continuous flow. It involves a blend of immediate sensory input and very short-term memory. For instance, when we listen to a melody, we don't just hear individual notes in isolation. We experience the melody as a coherent sequence, which requires our conscious experience to span the duration of several notes. The brain combines sensory information over time to create a cohesive and continuous experience. Consciousness here has a temporal dimension, which might be necessary for coherent thought, perception, and action. The brain processes and integrates information over short time intervals to create a seamless experience of the present. This temporal integration is essential for functions like motion, perception, decision-making, and maintaining a stable perception of the environment. Our awareness spans brief intervals, allowing for the integration and continuity of perception. The black hole information paradox arises from the conflict between general relativity and quantum mechanics regarding the fate of information that falls into a black hole. According to relativity, information that falls into a black hole is lost to the outside universe when the black hole evaporates via Hawking radiation. Quantum mechanics, however, dictates that information cannot be destroyed. This suggests that our understanding of quantum mechanics, or relativity, or possibly both, is incomplete. The block universe theory's view that all times are equally real might suggest that information is never truly lost but exists in a different part of the space-time block. Some interpretations of the block universe theory might imply that information falling into a black hole is not lost but merely inaccessible from certain points in space-time. This aligns with conservation principle in physics, the law that states the universe's total information content remains constant. In the case of block universe, it could be that the information is redistributed across different regions of space-time. Critics argued that the block universe neglects the passage of time, the significance of the present, the directionality of time, and the distinction between the future and the past. Flow of time theory featuring a strictly deterministic future, which doesn't exist in the same way as the present, wouldn't align with common sense understanding of time. It's been also argued that the ontological existence of the future doesn't make sense. The future simply doesn't exist. Another criticism argues that time is absolute and independent of the events happening within it. Time in this view is a universal clock that is the same for all observers. Time in both relativity and block universe is not a flowing independent backdrop, but an integrated part of the space-time fabric influenced by relativity. It's important to note that relativity doesn't imply that we live in an eternalist universe. Instead, it permits the possibility of such a universe to exist. It remains unclear if there are any testable predictions that could validate or disprove eternalism or presentism, unless we can time travel someday. If it were proven that we live in a presentist universe, it wouldn't necessarily falsify relativity. For us humans, the present holds a unique status. Our past appears to no longer exist, and our future has yet to materialize. However, based on many interpretations of relativity, the present is not special at all. If all times exist simultaneously with equal reality, then all events are predetermined, unavoidable, and inevitable, and the future is fixed and unchangeable. This has significant implications for human agency and free will. The idea that we humans, as part of the universe, possess free will is being questioned. Humans can only act in accordance with what the future holds. Our thoughts, actions, and experiences are predetermined and set in time. Moral responsibility is problematic since all actions are seen as inevitable. But if the future is not fixed, individuals may have the power to influence future events through their actions and decisions. The block universe model is conceptually challenging, especially in reconciling our subjective experience of time with the block universe's static nature. Some physicists and philosophers find the block universe model appealing because it provides a neat way of reconciling the apparent flow of time with the timeless nature of the physical laws. The laws of physics apply universally and consistently, regardless of when or where they are measured. This unchanging nature is what is meant by the timelessness in physical laws. These laws are the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. The laws of gravity works the same way whether it's 100 years ago or 100 years in the future. This consistency across all spacetime supports the block universe view. Our experience of sequential moments could be an illusion created by our consciousness moving along our world line in spacetime. The physical laws remain consistent and timeless, governing this entire sequence. Since these laws are timeless and unchanging, a model like the block universe that treats all points in time as equally real provides a consistent view that matches the behavior of these laws. It eliminates the need to explain the flow of time as an additional phenomenon and provides a coherent explanation that aligns with both scientific principles and our subjective experience. The brain is an impressive device in constructing a representation of reality by evaluating the physical properties of the world. It measures things like movement and time to simulate the environment effectively for survival. Our subjective experiences of these sensory inputs help our survival as they correspond with reality. Either our subjective experiences about the nature of time is also a reflection of the true nature of reality, where our perception of past, present, and future mirrors the actual temporal dynamics of the universe, or it evolved to process time similarly to space due to shared neural mechanisms or for cognitive efficiency. This might not necessarily reflect the true nature of time, but rather a convenient way for our brains to handle temporal information. Our perception of time flowing from past to present to future might be a mental construct that helps us to organize experience and memories. This construct could be a byproduct of how we evolved to perceive and interact with our environment, even if it doesn't perfectly match the physical reality of time. In the pursuit of science or philosophy, we must remain mindful of the inherent limitations and biases of our own minds as we navigate and interpret complex ideas, whether it's the mysterious nature of consciousness, the true nature of time, or the concept of a block universe.